We've talked about imposter syndrome on this podcast before, and today we've got a research-backed quiz you can take to find out if you suffer from it. Cody and I both took the test, and we'll let you know how we did in a minute. But first, let's back up with a quick refresher on imposter syndrome. In the 1970s, a pair of clinical psychologists named Dr. Pauline Rose Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes interviewed dozens of successful women, and they noticed something strange. Even though on paper, these people had achieved success, they admitted to a fear that they'd gotten there through luck or by mistake. Clance and Imes named this feeling imposter syndrome. One professor told them, quote, "I'm not good enough to be on the faculty here. Some mistake was made in the selection process," unquote. Later research found that it's not just women who feel this way. For example, a 1985 study of academics found that the male participants actually had higher scores of imposter syndrome than female participants. And a study last year found that while men and women both experience the phenomenon, they react differently to it. So why do people with such objectively successful lives feel like such frauds? And are some people more likely to feel that way than others? Clance has found that both personality and upbringing can have an effect. People who exhibit more introversion, anxiety, shame, and a need to look smart to other people are more likely to experience imposter syndrome. Likewise, being raised by overprotective, unsupportive parents can have an effect as well. For women, an excessive focus on gender roles can also make the problem worse. If this all sounds familiar and you want to find out if you suffer from imposter syndrome, then you can check out the Imposter Syndrome Scale on Dr. Pauline Rose Clance's website. We've got a link to it in our full write-up on this, which you can read on Curiosity.com and on our free Curiosity app for Android and iOS, with a link in today's show notes. And if you get a high score, then here are 3 tips for how you should cope with your feelings. First, normalize the feeling. There's nothing wrong with you if you feel like a fraud, and like I just told you, a lot of accomplished people feel the same way you do. Second, examine your definition of what it means to be competent and what it means to fail. You may find that you have unreasonable requirements for yourself that you don't place on the people around you. Third, think about other reasons you might be feeling this way. Success can be scary, after all. Sometimes feelings of fear and self-doubt just mean you're aware of the other side of success. Good luck.
And that brings us to you, Ashley. After taking the imposter syndrome scale, there are a few different categories. If you're under 40, you have few imposter characteristics. 41 to 60, you have moderate. And then if you're higher, you have frequent imposter feelings. And then there's a highest level where you have intense imposter syndrome experiences.
I was above 80.
You, really?
Yeah.
Like the highest?
Yeah.
Oh, man. What are we going to do?
I mean, it's just, I deal with it, right? You can't believe your brain.
You're so good at what you do.
Thank you.
You really need to not feel this way.
The way that I cope with it is knowing that it's going to happen and knowing that if I listen to it, I'm going to be less successful. And then just not listening to it and just moving right along. Because what's the worst that can happen? I get embarrassed? Someone calls me out? There are worse things that can happen to you.
There certainly are. Well, I scored the lowest.
Wow.
But that probably just means I'm a little more self-confident than I probably should
No,
be.
self-confidence is a great thing.